Welcome back, sleepyheads. You've eased your way into another quiet hour, right on time. Before Silas steps into the streets, a word from the voice behind the clock. You know, the one who sets these moments in motion, then lets them breathe. Beirut, after the 2020 explosion, a city caught between shock and resolve. Buildings torn open, glass still remembering the blast, but life stubborn and elegant, refusing to leave. See, this is history in the afterglow, when the noise is past and the truth settles into the streets. It's a powerful place for a quiet walk, not to relive the blast, but to witness what remains, the pauses, the patience, the way a city exhales and keeps going. If you find meaning in walking gently through the echoes of the world, stay with us. Join the sleepy circle. Let's begin.
Chapter 1 The Hour the Light Broke. Welcome, listeners. I'm Silas, your slightly singed, definitely sleep deprived tour guide through time. If you enjoy my voice, softly narrating humanity's worst Mondays, go ahead and like the video. It helps more dreamers find their way here. And subscribe, because if I'm going to walk through disaster zones in slippers, the least you can do is keep me company. A beat, a breath, and the city exhales with me. Slow, smoky, shaken. Now, find your calm. We're stepping into Beirut, the day after the blast. A day when the light broke in ways it never should. I appear in Martyrs Square, though appear might be generous. It looks like someone dropped the whole district, shook it like a snow globe, and forgot to screw the top back on. Dust hangs in the air like a permanent sunset. The statue at the center, Beirut's old witness to revolt and rebirth, is half gray, with powdered concrete, as if it too is mourning. Flags hang from broken poles like exhausted lungs. Windows that once caught the sun now gape open, empty sockets staring over the square. And everything, every stone, every sign, every corner, glitters with ground glass. A crunch under my boot reminds me I'm walking on what used to be windows, doors, lives. This, I whisper, is what silence looks like after it's been punched in the mouth. The air trembles with a deep metallic groan. At first I think it's a truck. Then I realize, no. Is the building still settling, still exhaling their pain? Martyrs Square has known war, occupation, protest, hope. But this is fatigue, a kind of ancient heartbreak. I start toward Gemmayzeh Street, the path narrowing between busted storefronts and leaning balconies. Shoes crunch. Dust drifts. The street sign whips on one remaining bolt, like it's trying to catch my attention before it falls. A whisper of air moves above me. Then, crack. The pane of glass gives way three, blows up. I step left instinctively, and the body-sized sheet drops like a guillotine, smashing against the pavement so close that a sliver kisses my sleeve. Shards scatter in a glittering spray, tinkling across the ground like morbid applause. Well, I mutter to no one. Good morning to you too. A man down the street jumps at the sound. A woman gasps into a dust mask. Somewhere, a car alarm stutters weakly and then gives up. I keep walking, slow, soft, but alert. The city is still angry, still shaking out pieces of itself. Every breeze dislodges something. A shutter, a tile, a rain of powdered brick. I swear the buildings are shedding trauma like a dog shakes off water. As I enter Gemmayzeh, the damage sharpens. This was the street closest to the port, the street that took the blast head on, like a boxer who didn't see the punch until the room went dark. Bars, cafés, galleries, Places that once pulsed with Beirut's stubborn nightlife are gutted. Entire facades peeled open, still bent like wax, doors blown from their frames and lying in the road like fallen soldiers. The buildings hum, literally hum. It's the sound of twisted metal cooling under the sun, a dull complaint of beams that are no longer straight, no longer sure. The city feels alive but wounded, like a giant creature trying to stand after being knocked flat. Another groan echoes overhead. I look up. A balcony, cracked, sagging, lets go. A chunk of cement, the size of a small suitcase, drops behind me with a thud so solid I feel it in my chest. Dust blooms upward, like a ghost flea in the scene. I freeze, exhale, force my shoulders down. You know, I say quietly, most cities wait until the third day to try killing me. Somewhere, under the rubble, a wind chime rings once. No wind, just gravity rearranging someone's former balcony into percussion. As I move onward, the street narrows with debris. Cars are stacked against each other, some shoved sideways from the last wave, like toys swept by an impatient child. One sedan is parked atop another, in an arrangement I'm pretty sure isn't covered in the manual. Every step reveals something heartbreaking. A child's shoe, a necklace caught in a crack of pavement, a storefront sign half buried in rubble, a menu ripped from its frame and plastered against a wall like a final poem. The silence here isn't quiet, it's stunned. People move through it carefully, reverently, not rushing, not panicking, just observing. Some sweep glass from the thresholds, some salvage chairs, some sit on curbs, gazing at nothing, because nothing is easier than looking directly at loss. I pause by a crushed balcony railing. Someone has hung a note on it, scrawled in quick trembling handwriting. We will rebuild. We always do. I run my thumb across the ink, smudged slightly, not dry when it was written. Someone cried here. I don't touch the railing. It doesn't look like it wants to be touched. Further, down, a broken cafe doorway creaks. A gust of dusty wind slips through, scattering papers, receipts, order tickets, maybe love notes disguised as tabs forgotten on tables. One floats past me and lands on my boat, a half-filled to-go order form. Coffee, minutia, 2 waters, someone's morning. Never finished. Another metallic groan rolls overhead. A shutter, dangling on its last screw, sways. I step wide around it to avoid becoming modern art. Gemmayzeh feels like it's playing a game of will it fall and losing. Still, I keep my tone soft, a little warm, a little wry. You can tell Beirut didn't choose this, I say quietly. It just endured it, the way it has endured everything else humans have thrown at it. The ground here is layered, dust, glass, concrete. My footprints make soft impressions, like I'm walking through snow, fallen from a sky made of buildings. The air tastes metallic, blood, concrete, salt, maybe memory. Every breath is history inhaled, raw. I pause at a small crossroad where a mural once covered the wall. Half of it is gone now, stripped away by the blast. What remains is an eye, deep, dark, glaring at the street as if asking, how much more can one city take? And I don't have an answer. I step closer to the port direction, where the skeletal remains of Beirut's silos rise like a broken crown. Even from here, blocks away, they dominate the horizon, half standing, half shattered, keeping silent guard over a wound so deep it still glows in the dust. I take one more slow breath and finish the chapter softly. Beirut has rebuilt 100 times, under empires, under ashes, and the grief. But right now the city feels tired, as if it has run out of miracles and is waiting, quietly, for someone to hand it one more. My steps crunch onward. The light is broken. Day is broken. But the walk continues. Chapter 2. Streets that forgot their own shape. I take a breath that tastes like powdered sun, concrete, and old sunlight, and keep walking. Still with me, I murmur. If you've made it past the falling glass and emotional damage, congratulations. You're officially more resilient than most infrastructure in this district. Gouraud Street opens ahead of me, a street that, on any normal night, will be a river of headlights and laughter. Bar stools scraping tile, music leaking out of every doorway like perfume. Tonight, it looks like someone hit pause during the apocalypse. Neon signs hang at crooked angles, their tubes shattered, letters dangling like broken teeth. A bar sign that once glowed bright pink now lies face down in the road, its metal frame twisted, wires exposed like nerves. Chairs are scattered across the sidewalk, some upside down, some flattened beneath chunks of balcony. Tables lie on their sides, legs snapped, as if they tried to run and didn't quite make it. I step under what used to be a string of fairy lights. Now it's just a limp cable, its bulbs shattered, little glass moons crushed into the dust at my feet. You can almost hear it, I say quietly. The echo of a Friday night that expected to become a Saturday, and instead became this. A cafe terrace draws my eye. The front half collapsed, stone and brick piled over splintered wood. A single unbroken chair perches on the edge of the wreckage, facing out toward the street like the last stubborn customer that refused to leave. I move closer, boots crunching through pulverized tile and glass. Cups are buried halfway in dust, their handles poking out like little white question marks. A bent spoon rests on a table that somehow stayed standing, bowl filled with a thin layer of gray. It looks like someone ordered coffee and got concrete instead. I reach out to brush a cracked saucer when I hear it. A sound that doesn't belong to a still street. Crunch. A slow grinding crunch from behind me. Then a soft roll. Then crunch again. I turn. At first my brain tries to label it wrong. It wants it to be a car, a trash can, anything but what it is. It's a car. A small sedan, nose down on the incline of Gouraud. Engine silent. Windows blown clean out. The windshield is gone. The rear glass a jagged smile. No headlights, no driver, just gravity, doing what gravity does best. It's drifting. Okay, I murmur under my breath. Nope. I sidestep to the right. The car keeps rolling. Slow, deliberate, like it's thinking about me. I step further over the rubble. It adjusts its path, tires bumping over chunks of stone, picking up a little speed. I swear, I whisper, if I get taken out by a ghost car in Beirut, I'm going to haunt someone's insurance office. The incline steepens just enough to turn unsettling into urgent. The car jolts over a slab of concrete, lurches forward, and now it's not drifting, it's committed. I backpedal. A chunk of balcony stone shifts under my boot. The car's front bumper kisses another pile of debris, veers a fraction sideways, and now its empty windshield is aimed almost directly at me like a hollow stare. Time compresses into a series of stupid details. The way the dust sifts off its hood, the way a loose bumper sticker flaps as it rolls, the way my heart forgets how to beat and then overcorrects. Okay, Silas, move. I spin, spot a half-crumbled wall to my left that used to separate a courtyard from the street. What's left is waist-high stone, fractured but standing. Good enough. The car crunches louder. I run 3 quick steps across the uneven ground. Glass, stone, plate fragments, and throw myself sideways. For a moment, I'm airborne over the wall, every nerve lit. Then my shoulder hits rough stone. My hip bounces off the edge, and I roll gracelessly into the remains of someone's front garden, now mostly dust and uprooted plants. Behind me, the car slams into the pile of debris I was just standing in front of. Metal shrieks, glass tinkles. Something under the hood pops with a sound like a snapped tendon. I stay on the ground for a second, breathing hard, cheek pressed into grit. My heart hammers so loud, I'm amazed the whole street doesn't turn to stare. Well, I rasp. Beirut's first autonomous vehicle is a little aggressive. 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm, maybe 2 for breaking logic. My laugh comes out thin and shaky. It's not really a joke. It's a pressure valve. I push myself up, brushing dust from my jacket, and peek over the wall. The car is wedged into a mound of rubble. Front crumpled, back wheels still slightly off the ground. It looks like it tried to leave the city, and the city said, absolutely not. I ease back onto Gouraud, legs a little rubbery, and keep walking. If the buildings wanted to scare me into paying attention, they have succeeded. Further along, the damage bleeds into Armenia Street, a stretch that now looks like it received a second, private explosion of its own. Sharp signs in Arabic and French lie torn from the anchors. A bakery's window is gone, the interior open to the street, shelves sagging, loaves of bread speckled with glass dust, as if coated in a cruel kind of sugar. The hair on my arms stands up before I see why. A low hiss, a faint crackle. I look up. Power lines sag across the road, toppled from their poles, draped like tied snakes over balconies and cars. One line scrapes against a fallen metal street sign, and where they touch, a bright orange spark spits into the air. Another hiss, another snap, the smell of burnt dust curling into the air. Every few seconds, the contact flares, bathing the dust clouds in stuttering, hellish light. Yeah, that feels safe, I murmur. Electricity freestyle dancing over rubble. What could go wrong? I keep my distance. The rule of collapsed cities. If it crackles, hums, or glows, and isn't a candle, stay away. The ground vibrates softly under my feet, like a distant truck rolling past, except there are no trucks. Then the tremor rolls a little harder, rattling broken glass in their frames, making a stripped balcony rail shudder. An aftershock. Small, but enough to remind every fracture it still exists. A window above me coughs out another dust cloud. A tiny cascade of grit patters her down onto the hood of a crumpled car. Somewhere behind the door, someone groans, then resumes sweeping glass. Life goes on, because it doesn't have any other setting. Another surge of sparks spits from the power line. This time, they fall onto a tatty awning, leaving tiny burnt kisses along the fabric. Not quite enough to ignite. Not yet. I imagine the city's electrical grid as a frayed nervous system, overloading, misfiring, trying to send messages through snapped connections. Tokyo has earthquakes. Beirut has this. Shockwaves and negligence, wrapped in fire and nitrates. And still, the city refuses to stop breathing. I step around a fallen pole, its concrete base ripped straight out of the sidewalk like a bad tooth. The hole it leaves behind is dark. I don't look too long into it. Tonight has enough metaphor already. Beirut's infrastructure is doing that thing we all do under stress. I tell you softly. holding itself together with tape, stubbornness, and a little bit of denial. Another aftershock shivers through the street. This one is lighter, more of a reminder than a threat. The hanging power line sways, sparks briefly, then settles. I pause, listening. Somewhere in the distance, sirens, layered over one another like a chorus that has forgotten the lyrics but remembers the urgency. Closer by, the scrape of brooms, the soft cough of a generator, a child crying and then being soothed in a language made more of tone than words. The city is fraying at the edges, but it is also stitching itself in real time. One broom stroke, one bandage, one shared bottle of water at a time. I step forward carefully, avoiding the reach of the cables, and let my voice drop to a murmur. When people say cities are resilient, this is what they mean. Not magic, not instant recovery, just this. Walking through a minefield of what used to be normal life and deciding one step at a time not to give up. The power lines crackle again behind me, briefly painting my shadow long against a fractured wall. I don't look back. We keep walking. Chapter 3. When a city's people break before its buildings, the Mikhael isn't just damaged. Tonight it feels opened, peeled apart, like the skin of a fruit split down the middle. Bars that once overflowed with music and cigarette haze now gape like busted rib cages. Boutiques that used to sell linen shirts and ironic sunglasses are shredded open, hangers twisted, clothes fluttering like surrender flags. The pavement is a mosaic of broken ceramic tiles, wine bottles pulverized under shockwaves, and stray bits of people's lives, the kind they never thought would end up in the street. I move slowly, letting the dust settle around my ankles. Each step sounds too loud in a place that used to drown footsteps in laughter. Mar Mikhael, I whisper, Beirut's nightlife district, where the bars used to stay open later than people's sanity. Now it looks like someone tried to fold the neighborhood and gave up halfway. I turn down a narrower side street, one I recognize from old photos, famous for graffiti, murals, and the occasional philosophical cat. But there are no cats now, just silence. Heavy, metallic silence that sticks to the tongue. I step over a fallen shutter, duck under a snapped street sign, and nearly walk straight into him. A man, barefoot, covered head to toe in grey dust, like someone sculpted him from concrete. He's stumbling forward in slow, hesitant movements, his arms hanging limp until he suddenly grabs my sleeve with both hands, hard. His fingers dig into the fabric, like he's trying not to fall off the earth. His eyes. God. They're wide and unfocused, pupils blown wide open, reflecting nothing. No buildings, no sky, not even me, just a hollow kind of seeing. Hey, I say softly, lifting my hands a little. Easy, easy. I'm right here. His mouth moves before sound comes out. When it does, the words are scraped raw. My brother was in the doorway. The light came, and then he swallows a sob like it's burning him. Where is everyone? The question lands like a dropped stone, heavy, bottomless. He clutches my arm even tighter. It makes my bones ache, but I don't pull away. His breath is uneven, half shudder, half choke. Dust streaks down his cheeks where tears have carved muddy rivers. His voice fractures again. My home, the walls, everything. Where did they go? I can feel him trembling, not from cold, but from the kind of shock that rips apart the order of a person's world. Trauma without a sound, without a warning, without mercy. Come on, I say, quietly, Let's walk. Let's find help. He nods, but it's not agreement. It's the reflexive movement of someone whose mind is cracked open and leaking. As we start moving, I see them. Blood trails, dark streaks smeared across broken concrete and shattered glass. Long, uneven lines leading downhill, like someone was dragged or someone staggered through, trying to reach something before their body gave out. The trails run toward the Charles Hello bus station. Normally a chaotic transit hub full of shouting drivers and diesel fumes. Tonight it's something else entirely. A makeshift aid station. People have spray painted a red cross on a strip of cardboard and propped it against a fallen barrier. Clusters of volunteers in mismatched gloves and torn masks move between injured people laid out on blankets and flattened boxes. Flashlights bob in the dark like frantic fireflies. I steer the man gently toward the entrance. He mutters as we go, voice thin and quaking. Name was Elias, my brother. He told me to close the window. He said it was just smoke, just smoke. And then the light. The light came through the walls. His steps falter. He squeezes my hand like a child crossing traffic. Each sentence he chokes out is another piece of a nightmare I can't put back together for him. I called him. There was no answer. There was no answer. I swallow hard. Nothing I say will be right. But silence feels crueler. We'll find someone who can help you, I murmur. You're not alone. His breathing hiccups, and he starts crying again. Quietly this time, like his ribs won't let him sob anymore. We cross into the bus station. The smell hits first. Iodine, sweat, burnt rubber, and the metallic tang of blood. A smell that says something terrible happened here, and people are trying desperately to undo even a fraction of it. Aid workers rush past us, bandages in hand, water bottles tucked under arms. Faces set with the grim determination of those who don't have time to feel what they're seeing. A young woman with a flashlight strapped to her forehead spots the man instantly. Bring him, she calls, but she's already moving, already lifting his arm over her shoulder, already guiding him toward a line of cots made from the backs of ripped-out bus seats. He reaches for me once, fingers brushing my sleeve, then is swallowed by the motion of triage. I stand there, throat tied, dust settling on my shoulders like snow. Around me, the world blurs into scenes I'll never forget. A medic stitching a tear along someone's scalp with hands steadier than mine could ever be. A man holding his daughter's hand, whispering to her even though she's unconscious. A volunteer pouring water over dust-filled wounds, murmuring apologies each time the patient flinches. Phone flashlights illuminating faces etched with pain, determination, grief, and the kind of numbness that arrives only when a heart runs out of ways to process horror. A generator coughs. The ceiling flickers. A gust of wind shivers through what's left of the windows. The place feels both sacred and broken. A cathedral of suffering. A sanctuary built from chaos. I exhale slowly, letting the weight of it settle. People, I whisper, break long before buildings do. But somehow, they also rebuild faster. The bus station groans as another aftershock rolls beneath us, rattling its middle bones. No one screams. Everyone steadies someone else. I take one last look at the rows of cots, the flicker of flashlights, the urgent murmurs of healing, and step away from the triage line. We keep walking. Chapter 4. Silence that isn't peace. We keep walking. The noise of the makeshift clinic fades behind me. Muffled shouts, the hiss of disinfectant, the low hum of generators, all swallowed by the open night. What replaces it isn't quiet, exactly. It's that heavy post-impact silence that hangs over a city after it's been punched in the ribs. Beirut hums now the way a bruise does. I cut towards Saifi Village, that carefully curated corner of the city that once looked like someone designed it with a Pinterest board. Pastel facades, tidy balconies, little art galleries, with perfectly moody lighting, an urban stage set for people who like their coffee strong and their aesthetics intentional. Tonight, it looks like someone picked it up, shook it hard, and then put it back down wrong. The first building I see is split clean open, like a dollhouse hit with a hammer. The entire front wall is just gone. In its place, a cross-section of someone's life hanging over the street. A child's bed is perched right at the edge of the void, blankets still tangled. A stuffed animal lying face down near the pillow. A nightstand tilts slightly, stubbornly refusing to fall. There's a lamp on it, shade crooked, bulb shattered, its cord trailing into the darkness like a useless lifeline. Above it, a bookshelf is clinging to what's left of the wall by a single metal bracket. Half the books have tumbled out and now lie in the rubble below, spines cracked, pages font open. One remains wedged halfway, as if midway through changing shelves, and then the universe hit pause. I stop beneath it, craning my neck. You know, I murmur, voice low. Some people say books can transport you. Pretty sure this wasn't what they meant. The joke falls flat in the air, but I let it hang there anyway. Sometimes humor isn't about being funny. It's about proving you can still form sentences. To my right, another building is sliced open. Each floor like a stage in a theater of interrupted lives. On one level, a living room. Couch pulled slightly away from the wall, TV still mounted. Its screen spider-webbed with cracks. A painting hangs askew above it, depicting the sea. A calm one, of course, because fate has a sense of irony. On the next floor, a kitchen. Cupboards yawning open, dishes scattered. A refrigerator door peeled back, like a split can. A single cereal box sits upright on the counter, untouched, defiantly ordinary. And in one corner, aligned perfectly on a small built-in shelf with no wall lift to protect it, stands a pair of shoes, black heels, side by side, waiting for someone who probably ran out of the apartment barefoot when the world turned to glass and raw. Saifi used to feel curated. Now it feels exposed, like the city's secrets have been dumped out in the street for everyone to see. Private lives, public now. I move on, feet crunching on glass and plaster. The air smells like dust, burnt metal, and faintly stubbornly perfume, trapped in shattered bottles that refuse to evacuate. Ahead, the road slopes toward the Rue Gouraud overpass. I climb, slowly, hand brushing along a railing that's bent but still mostly doing its job. The overpass gives me a slightly elevated view of the neighborhood. The broken balconies, the gutted storefronts, the flicker of phone flashlights in distant windows where people are still searching through wreckage. And then I see it. A restaurant, or what's left of one. The windows are shattered, frames twisted, but the main room is still partially intact, like a mouth with some teeth knocked out, but enough left to chew. I step inside. Dust has settled on everything like a new tablecloth. Chairs are toppled, some legs snapped. Pieces of the ceiling lie across tables, plates shattered beneath them. The bar at the back is cracked. Bottles lie broken in puddles of wine and liquor, the air tinged with the sour sweetness of unintended cocktails. But what stops me is one table near the center. It's still set, 2 wineglasses, a bottle, its neck broken cleanly, wine seeped into a dark pool that soaked the tablecloth like a slow-moving bruise. 2 plates. One is overturned, contents buried beneath debris. The other sits untouched, a fork lying just off to the side. The food is scattered, but impossibly still faintly steaming under a thin layer of dust, heat trapped under fallen plaster. The world ended mid-bite, and dinner didn't get the memo. I stand there, breathing shallowly, listening to the faint crackle of settling debris. This, I whisper, is what a paused film looks like. The room feels like it's waiting for someone to press play again, for laughter to resume, for a waiter to step out and apologize for the delay, for the couple who sat at this table to lean back in their chairs and finish an argument or a love confession. Instead, there's just the sound of a piece of glass slipping somewhere and shattering, late to his own party. I brush a bit of grime off the back of a chair and rest my hand on it. I can almost see them. 2 people sitting here, maybe talking politics, or rent prices, or how the hummus is better at the place down the street. Maybe checking their phones, maybe planning something. A trip, a move, a breakup, a wedding. Then the flash, then the roar, then the blast wave took their dinner, their windows, their ceiling, their entire illusion that life has to arrive in chronological order. Outside, a gust of air funnels along the overpass, carrying the distant sounds of sirens, raised voices, the occasional roar of a motorcycle trying to shove normalcy back into the street. I step away from the table and move towards the edge of the overpass. Below me, Gouraud Road slouches under its new weight of rubble and dust. Streetlights flicker between alive and dead. A traffic light at the intersection ahead blinks uselessly between red and green, commanding a traffic that no longer exists. A plastic chair lies on its side in the middle of the road, as if someone was sitting there, blinked and vanished. I lean on the railing. Beirut is quiet, but not peaceful. This isn't the hush of a city falling asleep. It's the stunned quiet of a room right after someone shouts, right after the glass breaks, right after every person in it realizes life is now split into before and after. It's the silence of people holding their breath, not because they're calm, but because they're afraid of what happens when they exhale. Beirut, I murmur, you really know how to pause at the worst possible second, huh? A chunk of concrete shifts somewhere behind me with a low groan, answering like an annoyed old man. I watch as a small group passes beneath the overpass, 3 figures moving slowly, carrying plastic bags filled with whatever they manage to salvage. One person glances up, eyes sweeping the broken windows, the exposed rooms, the restaurant with its frozen dinner. Their gaze lingers on it for a heartbeat too long. Then they look away and keep walking. Because what else can you do? You gather your things, you gather yourself, and you keep moving under a city that hasn't figured out how to move again yet. Up here, in this half-broken restaurant, overlooking a wounded street, it hits me. This isn't just destruction. This is interruption. The explosion didn't just destroy buildings. It stopped sentences. It froze gestures. It scattered moments that were never supposed to be historic into the public record of rubble. I take one last look at the table, the fork, the broken bottle, the faint ghost of steam, and turn away. The city is paused at the exact second everything broke. But the people? They're already inching forward, frame by frame. Chapter 5. Smoke screens and the sound of not knowing. Martyrs Park is only a few blocks away, but the walk feels like crossing continents, each step shifting from broken concrete to powdered glass, to patches of sand that blew in from who knows where. The air grows heavier too, not just with dust, but with something else. Anticipation, dread, that anxious static that gathers when a whole city is waiting for the same sentence to be finished. I turn the corner, and Martyrs Park spills open like a cracked bowl catching whatever humanity hasn't scattered yet. Families cluster together on bleachers and benches and curbs. Mothers, fathers, children wrapped in blankets that still smell like the closets. Battery-powered radios glow faintly in laps, each tuned to a different station, but all telling the same fractured story. Every voice from those devices sounds tired or scared or both. Updates come like broken beads on a severed string, intermittent, incomplete, inconclusive. And over it all, like a grim metronome, a siren, far off, then another, closer this time, reverberating against shattered buildings until the sound becomes a kind of vibration in the ribs. I drift through clusters of people, offering quiet nods, feeling like an intruder at a wake. Children cling to their parents' sleeves. One man stares at his radio, as if willing it to deliver a miracle instead of casualty updates. An older woman clutches a rosary so tightly, I'm pretty sure the beads are considering filing a complaint. I pass a group of young men, early 20s, exhausted, soot-streaked, charging someone's phone with a power bank. They're sharing like it's the Holy Grail. So, one mutters weakly, Beirut finally found a way to make us talk to each other instead of texting. It's the kind of joke you make only when you've cried too much already. I offer him a thin smile as I pass. Every few minutes, a siren splits the air again. The city coughs them out like distant pleas. They echo across the park, bounce off the statue of the martyrs, spiral up, and vanish into a sky that refuses to lighten. There's a heaviness to the atmosphere here that isn't just emotional, it's physical. The air feels thick enough to chew. Even the pigeons look subdued, waddling instead of flying, as if the sky isn't safe anymore. I move on, pulled by the faint scent of the sea, riding on a breeze that feels foreign, wrong, anxious. The path slopes down toward Saifi Marina, normally a polished, postcard-perfect stretch of boardwalk, lined with cafés, yachts, and the kind of leisurely strolling that makes you wonder what everyone does for a living. Tonight, the marina looks like a stage set long after the audience has evacuated. The first thing I smell is smoke. Not campfire smoke, not kitchen smoke, port smoke. Metallic, chemical, bitter. The kind that clings to your clothes and memory in equal measure. The wind coming off the Mediterranean is doing its best to push it inland, but the smoke doesn't rise. It drifts, stubborn and low, as if the city is exhaling grief, one slow breath at a time. The marina railings are bent in places where the blast wave must have grabbed them with invisible hands. Yachts are still moored but scarred, sails torn, their decks littered with debris that floated out from the port. The water sloshes gently, but every wave carries fragments. A piece of a door, a chunk of plaster, a child's plastic sandal. The The sea, usually shimmering with northern light, looks murky now, ash swirling under the surface like thoughts no one wants to articulate. And then I see it, the port, or what's left of it. It's visible from here, a jagged silhouette in the distance, where the grain silos once stood like stubborn guardians. Now they look half melted, half missing, as if someone took a celestial ice cream scoop and carved out the heart of the city. The blast crater is enormous, an open wound still smoldering. Smoke rises from it slowly, lazily, like even gravity is too tired to deal with it. There's something profoundly unsettling about the smoke's behavior. It doesn't billow like dramatic movie smoke. It trickles upward, thin and grey, as though whatever burned has nothing left to give except memories. Closer to shore, volunteers pick through the rubble, some barefoot, some in slippers, some wearing masks held together with tape. They carry buckets of debris, forming human chains that operate in absolute silence. No one shouts, no one complains. They just move, one piece of ruin at a time. It's almost liturgical. Near me, a man in a torn button-down shirt stares out at the port, lips parted, chest heaving as if he's trying to cry but can't quite remember how. His phone dangles from his fingers, screen cracked, flashlight flickering. Without turning to me, he whispers, "It looks like the world ended there, and we are just waiting to find out if it ended here too." I swallow hard. My snarky voice, that little friend that usually pops up with a dark joke or weird observation, stays quiet this time. Because there are no clever lines for this, only truth. I walk closer to the railing, leaning on the cool metal, watching the horizon flicker in uneven patches of light, where parts of the city have power and others stay blacked out entirely. Beirut normally glitters. Tonight it twitches, alive in some places, comatose in others. Behind me, another siren wails. This one sounds urgent enough to make my spine straighten. People at the marina stop and look back, but no one runs. No one even moves much. They're too drained, too overloaded. The city has rung every alarm in their bodies already. There's no response left. "Beirut," I murmur toward the smoke. "You're not supposed to break like this." A gust of wind from the sea pushes more smoke across the marina. It curls around my ankles like a tired animal, then drifts uphill toward Martyrs Park, toward the people huddled around radios waiting for someone, anyone, to say the sentence they need. "You're safe now. It's over." But no one says it, because no one knows. I exhale, long and slow, letting the weight of the scene settle, letting the soundscape of distant sirens and close whispers fold around me. The city feels like it's standing on tiptoe, waiting for the next blow, or the next miracle. I rest a hand on the railing, staring into the bruised skyline. Beirut isn't quiet tonight. It's holding its breath. Chapter 6. The crater where time fell through. The road to the port feels less like a street and more like an autopsy incision. Long, straight, and seared into the city's skin. Every step kicks up powdered concrete that once belonged to homes, offices, birthday parties, dinner tables, and secrets never meant to be shared. Beirut isn't just damaged here, it's exposed. Ahead of me, the air has thickened into something that can't decide whether it wants to be smoke, dust, or memory. It tastes like all three. By the time I reach the perimeter, the world has quieted into a strange, reverent hush. People stand behind the twisted fence, not speaking, barely breathing. as if sound itself would be disrespectful. The fence is mangled like a metal spiderweb that lost an argument with a god. Entire sections are warped inward. Others look melted, drooping like wax left too close to a candle. It's a fence that tried and failed to hold back a new reality. Soldiers stand nearby, not with stern authority, but with a stunned gentleness. Dust caked in the creases of their uniforms, eyes carrying too many stories for one lifetime. Stay back, one of them says, because that's what he's supposed to say. But his voice lacks conviction. He knows no one is listening, not out of defiance, but because grief has glued their feet to the earth. A woman beside me holds her shoes in her hands. She walked here barefoot. I don't know why, but there's something sacred in it. Like she didn't want to bring the dirt of safety into this place. A man leans on the fence with knuckles white as bone. Another clutches a crushed water bottle, squeezing it the way you would a hand that's no longer there. And still, no one moves. The gravity of the crater pulls at us all. I follow it, climbing the small rise ahead, a patch of ground that somehow resisted obliteration. Maybe it was luck. Maybe the earth itself braced. Maybe some places simply refused to die. At the top, the world opens into a wound. The crater isn't just big, it's biblical. A perfect circle carved into the city, as if Beirut had been struck by a judgment rather than an explosion. Its edges still shimmer with faint heat, the air bending above it in waves of distortion, as though reality is trying to stitch itself back together and failing. Warehouses are reduced to metal skeletons. Shipping containers lie twisted in ways metal should never twist. Like titans, bend them with their bare hands. Piers are nothing but teeth of rebar, jutting out of ash. Nothing about this belongs on earth. It's the kind of sight that forces you to understand, with sickening clarity, that survival is never guaranteed, not for cities and not for the people inside them. I rest my hand on the railing. The metal is warped, warm, and trembling beneath my palm, not shaking, vibrating. The ground below still shifts occasionally, as though the city hasn't finished falling yet. A deep rumble echoes from somewhere within the ruins. A roof collapsing, a beam surrendering, a final exhale of a structure that fought longer than it should have. And that's when it hits me. All of this, every twisted shard, every collapsed wall, every fragment of someone's yesterday, was created in a single second. Just one. A single breath. A single blink. A single moment where the world decided to show how fragile it has always been. Behind me someone begins to cry. Not softly, not politely. It's the kind of cry that drags the soul out through the ribs. Others murmur prayers. Someone collapses to their knees. One man stares into the crater with a face carved from disbelief. And yet they're here, standing, breathing, witnessing. Somehow, amid all this ruin, life continues. A paramedic passes below the rise, his uniform ripped, his face streaked with soot. He looks like he hasn't slept in hours, maybe days, but when a woman grabs his arm, frantic and trembling, he stops instantly. His tired voice softens, and he steadies her like he's anchoring a ship in a storm. A group of young men carry crates of water bottles towards the aid tents, hands blistered, feet dragging, their faces covered in dust and determination. A teenage girl presses her jacket around the shoulders of an elderly man who lost his home. She doesn't even hesitate. Beirut is breaking, but Beirut is also refusing to stop saving itself. Cities don't survive because their buildings stand. Cities survive because their people do. I swallow around the tightness in my throat and let the silence settle again. It's a strange silence, thick, trembling, and full of ghosts, but also full of survivors. This quiet isn't peace, but it is endurance. It's the sound of a city refusing to give up, even when the earth has ripped open beneath it. The crater below glows faintly, an ember in the dark, a reminder, a warning, a scar, a lesson. I let my fingers drift along the railing again, grounding myself. Fragility isn't proof of weakness, I whisper. It's proof that something existed, something lived, something mattered enough to be wounded. The wind shifts, carrying the faint scent of salt, smoke, and survival. A strange combination, but an honest one. It smells like a city trying, desperately, painfully, to keep breathing. I take one last look at the crater, this impossible wound carved into a place that has already survived more than most cities ever will. Then I breathe in and let it go. Rest easy, sleepyheads. The path through time never closes. It just waits. I'll see you back in the circle.